Hi, Chumi. Welcome to another episode of Meet Me in My Corner. I'm Dr. K and I'm your host. So today is actually quite cool for me because I have my very first guest ever. I have never ever had a guest in the history of Meet Me in My Corner. And I think she is perfect to be the first guest because if you are making that journey to the aisle, this should be one of your first stops. Okay. So before you choose your dress, before you choose your, I don't know, your venue, I really think that you need to start working on the marriage because I think a lot of us only think about just the wedding day and we don't realize that after that you need to actually have your marriage. So we have the beautiful Talama Matsepe, okay, joining me today. She's not Motsepe. I know that's like a joke you say. You missed it by O. Okay, she is a renowned wellness advocate, a Christian disciple. I love that we put that there, Christian disciple, and registered counselor. Talama has dedicated her life to empowering individuals and couples to live fulfilling lives. She's the driving force, behind the Power Couples movement and the author of Wait Before We Get Married, Premarital Essentials, which is actually a resource that I'm so excited for us to actually talk about because this is one of the resources I'm going to get for myself, right? As I make the journey to the aisle. Hi, T.
Hi. Hi, everybody.
Can I call you T?
Yes, please.
How does it feel to be my very
You're
first
the only
guest?
one that actually calls me T.
I call everybody that starts with the name TT, which is quite confusing because I have my sister Teboho and then I have my partner Tumelo. So you are my 13 now, Talama. Okay.
It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure to be here.
I really was so happy that you said yes. You're obviously very busy. You have a lot of hats that you wear, right?
By the grace of the Lord, to be honest.
You are a wife of 12 years, which I learned today.
Yes.
And you're a young wife. Let's put it out there. You're also a mom to Emmanuel, right? And you're also the founder of HeartSync. And in collaboration with your husband, you have the Power Couples movement. Okay. So before we go too far, I just want to ask you, what made you go onto this journey of assisting couples to live more fulfilling lives or to have resources and tools in their marriages?
Okay. So first of all, I come from a family. I wouldn't say that it was toxic, but it was not perfect. Okay. And I felt that there was more, right? Felt that it was more. And growing up in such a home, I felt that there was something that was missing. And with both my parents, they couldn't communicate well. And that became like a ripple effect into the family system, right? So I think in many families, you find us not being great communicators because of what we've been observing, right? But for me to start the movement is because I felt like, first of all, I'm a lover of love. I am so obsessed with love.
And you exude love, I must say it to you.
Yeah, thank you.
In all your interactions.
Thank you.
Yeah, you really do.
I love love. And somehow God has put that as a passion of mine. That he allowed me to sort of see marriage from a lens, I think his lens, more than the lens that we
were exposed to.
And so, I don't know, I felt like just love in general, for me, I've been such an optimist of love. So what inspired this was just, I felt like we could do better in terms of raising our children. We could do better as to exposing our children to what true love looks like. And I'm not saying that we are perfect people, because we are flawed. Not. We have our own issues. But what we were not taught was to deal with issues constructively. And so I felt like that we could do better, right? And God also led me to starting HeartSync. I think I've shared it in so many podcasts already, where I had a vision of 3 people: a husband, a wife, and a child, right? And although I couldn't see their faces, but there was just a beam of light behind them. And as I came closer, there were thousands and thousands and thousands of families just behind them. And I realized that once you impact one family, it becomes a ripple effect.
It does. It does, because they start to become the example
Exactly.
of what is possible.
Exactly.
So I actually love that you took us back to your background, because I think a lot of people think that their, a career will come out of just interests, and they don't realize that there's a lot of things that really can impact how you then decide to, live out your purpose. And a lot of our backgrounds do that, right? So it's interesting that you share about, the family system that you grew up in, that you found that was fractured, right? I actually describe my family structure right now as not healthy, but healed. And
I love that.
Yeah, and that's because my parents are actually divorced, right? They got divorced in 2001. So it's been like 23 years. And I grew up in a home that just felt like there was just too much turmoil, okay? There was infidelity, there was poor communication, there was, an ego battle, which I really didn't enjoy. It didn't feel happy. And funny enough, people believe that a very happy family is when 2 people are together. But if 2 people are together and they're hurting each other, then it's not really conducive, a place to be in. So it's funny that we're going to talk about marriage, and I am a firm believer of marriage. However, I do come from a place where I feel that divorce actually healed our family.
Okay.
Funny enough, right? And that's because I think that my parents should have made us, I really believe they should have been our parents, but them being with one another, they because they weren't willing to work on themselves to be better for each other, it just wasn't working. And now we are so close, by the way.
Wow.
We're 4 of us. So it's my sister and I, my mom and my dad. We are so close, like so close. People would be so shocked, The divorce did not break us up at all. We have our own family system. It's not romantic between my parents, but it's a beautiful friendship between them. I mean, my father is my mom's first call for anything, My mom is my father's first call for anything. Yeah. They really assisted each other when they lost their parents, They were both at the forefront of taking care of the funerals and so forth. I mean, my dad is sick right now. We have a family group, by the way.
Okay.
We have a family WhatsApp group, and we're very active in it, the 4 of us. And that's why I say that we might not have the healthy looking, structure of a family, but we definitely have a healed family where we're really enjoying each other. I get to experience my father the way that I always wanted to experience him. I get to experience my mom from a healed version of herself. And also the love that they share with one another is very inspiring. And that's why I actually didn't give up on love. And just because they got divorced didn't make me think that, no, I shouldn't have a marriage.
Yeah.
And in actual fact, their structure and what has happened with them, their journey, really inspired me to meet someone like my partner. Yeah. So it's an interesting dynamic. Okay. So let's move on from there, right? So Talama is growing up in this household, right? There's quite a bit of toxicity and so forth. What does it teach her about herself and love?
First of all, let's start with the pain, right? You know the saying that says, hurt people hurt people?
Yes, ma'am. Because I've
right?
done it
Right.
many times. Yes.
And as a young girl, because I was last born, Rifoko High.
Okay.
Have a sister and 2 boys between of us.
Mm-hmm.
And so they were out of the house. It was just me, and I had to observe and experience.
Okay, so you didn't have a buffer.
No, or an escape, for that matter. And you grow up in a family where they don't know how to communicate.
Mm-hmm.
They always taking jabs at each other. And you are trying to bring about the peace. Okay? And sometimes you end up being on one side. Sometimes you're on the other end as well. I think they started being more, they didn't hide it anymore, right? So when I was, I think, 16, 17, now it started coming out, right?
Yeah.
They slept in different
rooms. There's no
rooms.
filter.
Exactly. They slept in different rooms. But when we went out in the public, we portrayed as though we were together as a family. But
so
when
it was
you're
quite
home,
disingenuous.
do you understand? When you're at home, good night.
Sure.
There's a whole lot of things that happened, a lot of mistrust. And it was not an issue of someone cheated. It's just people just fell out of love, I guess. I don't know. But that causes, it's a decision that a person makes.
It is.
To lose interest.
It is a decision,
right?
Yeah, yeah.
And now you grow up in such a space and you don't know what defines love. Like you're just confused as a child as to, what is this?
Then where do you...
marriage? Is this love? Is this... And then you meet a guy.
That's what I want to understand.
I was 17 at that time when I met him. Yeah.
That's so special.
Yeah. But we've crossed paths before. I mean, I was in creche when I met him,
Creche?
We shared the same bus. Yeah.
What?
But, I mean... we never knew each other in that way. It's just,
that is so cool.
Yeah.
So you guys grew up around each other?
Yes.
All right.
We were raised in the same town.
Cool. Okay.
And here comes a guy who is so genuine, so kind, so thoughtful, which is nothing compared to what I've seen in my household. Right? My dad was so strict. He didn't know how to express. Like you could sometimes feel that he loves you, but there was no expression of that in the household, right? And here comes this guy, he's young, and he's like exposing you to so many things. And I'm glad that my heart was open to receiving it.
But you see, that's what I want to understand. Where do you then draw the courage to open yourself up when, our parents are our first loves, right?
Yeah.
Well, they're meant to be our first loves. That's how I see it. And it's so unstable, and they are basically defeating what you wish you could understand about love. But now you meet this person who's outside of your ordinary, right? He's actually like completely different to what you know, what you've been accustomed to. Where do you then draw that courage to open yourself up to something so foreign? Or was it not foreign? Did you find it somewhere else?
But aren't we drawn to something that feels good? It feels good in your heart. It's different. It's not hostile. It's not painful. It doesn't feel painful. Right? And now you're drawn or you're attracted to someone who is so sincere and genuine and kind. Things like that lacked in my household, just being kind. We were just so used to being rude to each other. My parents. And now here comes a person who is so kind, who is so selfless. First of all, my dad was stingy, guys.
Nalistinji kae, ni
Nalistinji ka
Talama.
tjhelete. Oh,
Talama.
Deji. Oh, Papa was so stingy.
Yeah.
When I went to varsity and we didn't have enough funds, he was like, "Ngwana ka ino bua kae?
Re tla bona ko pele."
Baraka Shoprite, you know,
No ways.
go make your own money and take yourself to school." Right? And my mom was just like, "No, my daughter's going to finish her school, her schooling." And now you meet a guy even generous with his money. And that's a bit surprising, especially when your parents should spoil you, or your dad should show you how men should treat you.
Yeah. That's
be
how
honest,
I feel as well. Yeah,
that's how I feel, right?
I also feel the same way. Yeah.
And here comes a guy who is willing to spend money on you. The first time he did that, I asked him why. For what? Definitely wants something. This one.
You see, you didn't trust it.
I didn't trust it,
right?
yeah.
So
and I felt like,
on that
doji, there's no man that would give you money. And he would say, go do your hair, go do your nails. I'm like, that's weird. That's weird. So I wanted to give him back money, and he was like, no, like just use it on yourself. Or you know how varsity life is, right? And he did it the second time. The third time, I saved it.
Wow.
I didn't use it. I was waiting for the day where he's like, hey, I've been spending money on you.
Give it back.
So I can just, hey, you know what? Thank you. You know, because I did not understand the kind of love that will be so selfless, that would make one want to splurge on you and spend on you, you know. So I found it quite strange.
And yet you still opened up to it.
Yeah, that's still open. Because it felt so different.
It felt so different.
It felt safe.
But the reason why I ask you this, right? And I believe you've probably seen this quite a few times because you are in the field of psychology and you've worked with so many people, right? Human beings are creatures of habit. And sometimes we find ourselves in patterns, right?
Yeah.
Because you even said hurt people sometimes hurt people,
yes, they
right? But sometimes we even hurt ourselves in that because we're accustomed, or we believe that we should be accustomed to a certain way of experiencing love, we start to model ourselves, or we start to only allow ourselves to be in those types of situations because it feels more comfortable, because it's what we know. It's not very foreign. And then you meet a nice person, a kind person, and even though it feels good, because it's very foreign, you think that maybe there's an ulterior motive. It's not, you know, the inner critic starts to come out and you'd say, no, I'm not going to go this way. I don't trust this. It's funny enough, but it's like, I will rather go here because this is what I know, you know? So for me, I'm quite intrigued that with this relationship, you know, and at such a young age that you had that, for me, it sounds like you had that self-awareness as well, to realize that you also deserve something that good.
Yeah. I mean, Gamahela felt like a safe space. He did. He felt not an escape.
Okay.
He felt like a safe space. I felt like I could trust him. I felt like, I mean, as a couple, you dream together, you know. You already plan for the future as to this is the kind of life they're going to live together, and this is what we're going to build and stuff like that. And somehow I believed that. I believe that with all my heart. I've said this, I think, on one of our single sessions, and I said, I only had a word from him. He promised me. There were certain promises that he made, and he said, I will fulfill them. And I only had a word, and that word has gotten us this far 12 years later. He was a man of his word, I'm telling you. My husband was a man of his word, and he stuck. Even when my mom passed away, before, like even with the Lobola negotiations, my mom would say to him, I think you should wait a little bit. Because I got engaged when I think I was in the second year. And then I got engaged, and then my mom was like, hey, MGI. let's just get things done so that you can, focus on you, the both of you. And he was like, no, Mama, I'll take care of her. Don't worry.
I'll take care.
I'll take care of her. And that was a promise. And my mom said, you promise that you will make sure that she finishes school before anything happens. Make sure that she completes her studies. And that's what happened. Oh my God, that man.
He kept his word.
He kept his word.
I love that you say that, because that is the one thing that I've been reflecting back on this week in my relationship as well. We have been through our hardships, but what has really kept me so happy and so proud of the relationship that I'm in is that the person I'm with, I felt like he kept his promise or he kept his word. And I love that you put it that way. And I also felt that he was very reliable and dependable. And seeing that from you makes me kind of excited, because I also can't wait for us to do 12 years one day.
And it is possible.
No, it definitely is. And I do
possible.
trust that. I really do trust that, and I believe that. Okay, so T, you meet this wonderful man. He is so kind. He's a safe space. You grow together. He proposes when you're how old?
I think it was 20.
20.
Yeah. He
right?
proposed, got married.
Okay. And then you get married when you're 21. Right. Okay. So now looking back with all that you know, right, about yourself and also about this journey, what made you feel ready for marriage at that time?
That's a good question. I think going back to what I said, once you trust in a word, once you believe in something, you hold it closely to your heart, right? And let's not forget that love is almost like faith, right? You trust it. And sometimes it throws you in the deep end and you just trust that you will not drown.
That's a good one. And that is true.
You have to just believe and trust that this person will carry me through.
Sure.
And that goes with even when you separate with someone and now you want to date again. That's the whole that's how it works.
I've never looked at it that way. That's
right?
A good way
You're always
it.
having to throw yourself in the deep end, and you're just trusting and hoping that this person will carry me. This person will stick with me till the end. So you just have to believe and trust. I think at that time, man, 21.
Yeah, like what was your headspace like? Because when I look at myself when I was 21, I was not ready for a marriage, and I'm glad I didn't.
Oh, man.
I mean, thinking of it in a very superficial way, I would have wanted to get married.
Yeah.
But looking at myself personally, my personal journey, I definitely wasn't ready then. But with you, I just want to know, like, what was your headspace then?
To be honest, sis, actually, a friend of mine asked me that question, Victoria. She's like, 21 to me. And you got married.
Like
how do you? I know, man. But I felt like it was a God thing.
Okay.
It was a God thing.
Okay.
It was a God thing. Okay. Just how our lives have, just how we lived our lives. It's just God has been in it.
And carving your path.
Yeah. I find it actually ironic how God works, because I come from a family where it was broken. And here God says, hey, start power couples. Hey, be a believer of love. There's so much there that you need to show the world and share. Horiman, this thing is such a beautiful thing. And I actually laugh now, even thinking about how God can be so funny that he will use the foolish things, the things that the world deems as foolish to shame the wise, right? And to show that it's possible. You don't have to come from a perfect family and then to say, or from a broken family, and then you realize, now I must just continue living in that same lineage.
You don't have to be a product
you don't
of
have
that.
Exactly. So God changes the trajectory of your story. I've said it quite a lot of times that your past doesn't determine your future. It doesn't. as much as we carry these scars, I think if we changed our perception and looked at these scars not as just pain, but from a place of you are a warrior. You have built so much resilience. Looking at that has now groomed you to be the woman that you are today, right? So now when I look back on love or the family dynamic then, it's like, man, I now look forward to being with this amazing man who's willing to carry me, and I'm going to carry him as well, you know? And love is not perfect.
No, it's
Actually,
not.
if you don't mind, can I just read this to you quickly?
No, definitely. Please do it.
It's Ephesians 5, verse 25. You know the scripture. It's basically talks about how wives should submit to their husbands and how husbands should love their wives, right?
Yes.
Here, when it says for husbands, this means love your wives just as Christ loved the church.
Yes.
That he gave up his life for her to make her holy and clean. So now this means that the bride is not clean, which is us, right? Husbands and wife, we are the church, right? Why would a God who is without sin, without even a spot of sin within him, give up himself for her? The bride who is filthy, unrighteous, rebellious, sinful in nature, because he loved her. That he had to give up himself for her.
Wow.
Right? And then he says, just as Christ loved the church, he gave up himself for her to make her holy and clean, washed by the cleansing of God's word. He did this to represent her to himself as a glorious church without a spot or wrinkle. Now, this indicates to me that there's no need for you to act as though that you are perfect. We are stained as people. And coming into a marriage, we need to understand that there's no one more who is perfect.
And
now,
who's better than the other.
If you now partner up with God and allow him to use you as conduits, now physical conduits, because now you see my flaws, I see your flaws. Every day we are mirroring each other.
Yes.
If we allowed and put God as the center of our marriage, we won't look at our conflicts as mountains anymore, because we understand, or we have the understanding that you are not perfect. I'm not perfect. But if we allow God to move and breathe into this relationship, we will be cleansed at the end of the day.
I love that. I love that.
We will be cleansed. Because it says at the end of the day, after cleansing her with the word, he will present her back to himself as a holy. So I feel like if we maybe perhaps looked at our conflicts, our challenges from a different lens, to say, perhaps there's something, this person is sharing insights about what's going on. I mean, if you are in a conflict and you're lashing out and you're shouting, and don't fight back, because our human inclination is to always fight back, right? Rather, pause. This woman is saying something to me. This is the time for me to grab on the insights. What is she communicating? I'm lonely. I'm this. You grab hold of that. And now you reflect back. Is this what you're saying? That's how we heal. That's how that's where the purification comes in. Instead of always fighting all the time.
Always, just reacting. Okay, cool. So you then, with all that you understand about yourself and the fact that you really wanted to drown in love, well, rather swim with love, right? You get married from the age of 21, and you and your husband then work on or create this power couple movement. Where did that come in your story? And is it because of the teachings from the church that made you want to share what you've learned? Or where did you actually draw inspiration for that?
I felt that because we did go through counseling, right? Premarital counseling with our pastors. But I felt that there was a lacking of certain things that are quite important in marriage.
Okay, share those.
Because it mainly focused, with our counseling, it mainly focused on like just the spiritual aspect of it, and not much of how do you deal with conflict. If you are faced with a certain challenge, what kind of person are you in that moment? Because we have people that kind of close off whenever they have to face certain conflict, personality. We have people that are like me who let's deal with this right now.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Let's fix it. Like, what's wrong?
Yes.
Whereas my husband is the type he wants to mull over it. He wants to process it. He wants to think about it. He wants to have a plan A, B, C, and maybe Z. And then sit with me and say, okay, so this is the plan.
Yeah.
Whereas I'm like, let's do this. Like, let's go.
You want to get into the thick of it immediately.
Exactly.
Yes.
So there were no teachings on how to communicate, right? There were no teachings of how to manage your finances together. Transparency.
Okay. Yes.
Right?
Transparency is a big one.
It's a big one, especially with finances. There's a whole lot of things happening there. And also dynamics in terms of more than the husband. And so I would rather not disclose where I'm at in terms of my finances. And then we also have issues of belief. It's so interesting how people would say that they're Christian. Many people say that we're Christian. But when it comes to the practicality of it, what do we do? There are people that are on their knees, same as Christians who are on their knees, but then they togoza and call on ancestors. And there are others who are fully on Christian, who fast, who pray, and who wait on the Lord. But we both said we're Christian.
Yeah.
So when it comes to the practicality of it, do we disclose that? Because that means if things hit the fan, if it's a belief thing, go high, where they call you and they're like, hey,
and you don't believe in
and
that.
You don't believe in that, and then it's a shocker to you.
Belief is a big thing.
So it's a big thing. And also it influences how we raise our kids.
Exactly. Yeah. Basically how you actually structure your home, how you...
Exactly.
I mean, it will affect your life. You know, you can't be from two different camps. You can be individuals, but you can't be from two different teams.
Yes.
Right?
Because otherwise it creates a gridlock between the both of you.
Yes.
So you're pulling
I
from
love
both
that you say that. I love that you put that there. I think a lot of people think that, fine, yes, we sitting in church together or we're doing this certain practice together, that we're actually all in the same place. But certain events could then expose you. And that revelation can sometimes be scary to deal with. So I love that you also put that there. So, okay. So I love that you've moved me to the best part of this conversation. Okay. So talking about the premarital counseling, right? So you had your premarital counseling and you felt that it was structured around belief and spirituality, which you didn't mind. You loved the perils. Yes, you loved the perils that you received from that. However, as you then went into your marriage and you went into the journey, you uncovered a lot that you felt that you needed support.
Exactly.
And you also wanted to share that support. So I love that because in Meet Me in My Corner, we're all about that. Okay. So we're all about giving people support and having these open conversations. So, but then what I want to understand from that, right, is how did you both then decide that we're going to make this a power couple movement?
You know, as I said in the beginning, we are so used to having, let me phrase it this way. We are not used to having uncomfortable conversations.
Okay.
Right. And when we created the movement, we wanted to create a community where we can delve into having those uncomfortable, conversations and not ignoring or avoiding the elephant in the room where we just like, hopefully it will resolve itself. But creating a space for couples to genuinely have uncomfortable conversations. I remember we once spoke about finances. I think it was on a WhatsApp group or something like that.
Okay. So you guys also have a WhatsApp group?
Yes, we have a WhatsApp group.
Okay.
It was so uncomfortable. People didn't even comment.
All right.
To show that this is quite a very touchy conversation. I don't want to probe the bear. Like, I don't want to,
I don't want to go there.
I don't want to go there, right? And so it's about having healthy conversations, addressing why is it that we're not transparent with our finances, for instance. Is it something that we're hiding?
Is this a thing? So I mean, you've now been exposed to a lot of couples. You've seen, you've gained a lot of insights. So is this a thing that people feel very uncomfortable to talk about their finances?
It's a power dynamic.
Okay.
It is.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's why I'm saying, men feel very uncomfortable to share their finances, even with women.
Yeah.
Even with women. But like, it's a power dynamic in the sense of, more than me, because of the expectation as men are providers naturally. So it creates like that
weird
awkward dynamic in the relationship, instead of maybe perhaps let's look at it as our budget.
Exactly.
Not just this is yours. And I mean, with my parents as well. I mean, my dad used to pay the bond. My mom would manage the kids, the groceries, but they never shared.
Oh.
So nobody knows how much, who earns what. Nobody
knows.
But
things are getting done.
But things are getting done.
Okay.
Right?
Interesting.
But now it becomes a problem because when someone dies, you are just faced with quite a number of things, right? And now if you're married and commit to property, then that's another thing where the other needs to pay for the goloto. It's just a mess, right? But why aren't we transparent?
It's funny though that this is a person that you want to sleep next to for the rest of your life, that you're very vulnerable. I mean, it takes a lot to trust yourself with somebody at night. I mean, come on, guys, let's talk about that, right? But you don't want to talk about your finances. Okay, so that has been one of the uncomfortable touching points, right? In your experience with dealing with couples. What has excited you the most with dealing with couples? What have you seen that could inspire somebody, to not just look at marriage as doom and gloom? Because I don't know, Talama, what I've seen these days, obviously in the world of digital age, we are obviously exposed to more people than what we used to be. And people are sharing their divorces online and so forth. And people are just like now saying, oh no, marriage, things are a lie, all of that. But I can imagine you've probably seen some stuff in your power couple movement, whether it's in your sessions or on the WhatsApp group or at your events, that could actually inspire somebody to believe in marriage again.
The beauty of marriage is when you begin to realize that this person is here in my life for a reason, number one. Secondly, he's going to allow me to work on some couple of things in my life that he reflects so many things. I mean, we always say that marriage will mirror you in a sense, right? I think if we looked at marriage in the sense of, okay, there's some work that I need to do on myself, right? There are things that are going to resurface in marriage, which is not a bad thing. I think people are afraid of facing themselves. Right? People are afraid.
Just touched the point. Yeah. Yes.
People are afraid to face themselves. And when they get to face themselves in the mirror and they don't like it, it's a fight or flight situation.
Okay.
So now you have a person in your life 24/7 seeing you every day with your flaws.
Yes.
With all the things that you're going through. and this person now says to you, okay, you need to work on this, and you're like, no, and this person is saying, okay, you need to really work on this thing, right? And instead of using that as an opportunity to really work on yourself and say, oh, perhaps I really need to work on this thing. Maybe I have a bad habits that I need to work on, or maybe a bad attitude that I need to work on. Use that constructively instead of always fighting back. And so people, when they are faced with a situation where they have to face themselves, they run for their lives. So they will come up with excuses of, oh no, she was not the perfect one, or she's not the one. But there are things that are going to be exposed.
Yeah.
Even you, as you're getting married soon, you need to understand that when things get exposed, don't lash out, don't fight it. Rather, use that as a moment to reflect. What does this mean? Where is it coming from? What's the trigger? Why am I being triggered? Figure it out.
Why am I being triggered? Yes.
Why am I being triggered? And figure it out. Have a moment with yourself and really try to understand, okay, maybe I'm triggered because he said this, but why?
Where does this come
why does
from?
it hurt me, right? And perhaps it's an insecurity issue that you need to work on. And once you put a name on that thing, then you know what you need to work on.
I love that. I love that. And you are very correct in saying that, being in a couple with somebody acts as a mirror. I've learned so much about myself just in this past few years with being with my partner. In actual fact, somebody even sent me a message the other day and said that I'm so happy you are with the person that you are with, because I can see that you're safe, because of how vulnerable you are. And I never thought of that. I never saw it that way, Talama. I didn't. And I also think that this also goes back to what you said when I asked you about, how did you know you were ready for marriage? And you said that you wanted to give into love, right? That also understanding that, exposing yourself also can reward you with this love.
It's a gift.
Right? It is a gift. It is a gift, and it is going to be hard. And I think we expect things to come easily for us. And I think that's why people are struggling a lot these days, especially in a world where it seems like we're always going to have convenience and instant gratification, right? We think that we need to have instant gratification even in marriage or even in our relationships and our journey to the aisle. And I think that changing that mindset could really free us and open ourselves up to a world of opportunity, because that's what it is.
Yes.
I feel that marriage is a world of opportunity. And that's why I actually don't like the this messaging around like, what's it? When men go on that thing, what's it? Bachelor party. What's it called?
Oh, yeah. It's the bachelor.
Yeah, it's a bachelor's. And then they say words like, oh, this is the last time.
Oh, yes.
It seems like your life is ending. Like the way they're doing it, it's like it's a funeral to who you are, instead of like, this is an awakening of who you are, right? This can really put you in a position of reaching those goals that you always wanted to reach. This can put you closer to your purpose. Oh, so exciting. Okay, so I want to know, where is Power Couples movement right now, and what are your plans?
Okay, my plans. I'm sure a lot of people want to hear this because I haven't said much on social media.
We've been missing you.
Yeah. So I've put Power Couples on pause.
Okay.
And I've said this off camera that, we have hosted amazing events and we know how to show up in that regard. And I felt like Power Couples shouldn't be seen as, let's dress up, let's go have fun in jail, let's just go and meet other people, fair, those kind of vibes, if I'm making sense.
Get party fair.
Yeah. I felt like we needed something like the Lord was just telling me that we need impact, right? We need people to go home with tangible impact, something that they can really go home and apply in their own marriages. And that's something that we're working on right now. Right now, we are asking the Lord, like, what's our next move?
Okay.
Right? What's our next move? Because I got tired by just, okay, we are hosting another event and it's just another event, which people can do, you know. And for me, it was not even about the numbers, you know. I got tired of just, oh, we've hosted 3,000 people. That's, for me, it doesn't mean anything. It's impact. It has to be impactful. I want, the purpose of Power Couples is to see people's lives being changed. That's the main reason why we started Power Couples. We wanted to imprint on these couples that there's just more to just making babies, building, you know, alkalides or whatever that is. You know, it's not about that. It's bringing in love into the family, warmth in the family, and which we are responsible for. Our kids need to see that. And they need to also do the same thing. As I said, it's a ripple effect. Once you get the family right and healthy and warm, and then that will then go to the next generation and the next generation after that. So I felt like, no, we need more impact. We need impact, you know, than just hosting.
Okay.
An event.
So you guys are going back to the drawing board.
Yes, we are.
Which I love. And I think this is also important for my Meet Me in My Corner chomies to understand that it's always important to go back. Exactly. You don't have to keep forcing something just for the sake of keeping to do something, right? And what I get from what you just said is that, you know, like how everyone always talks about generational wealth, you are working towards creating generational health and health in love. Yeah, that's what
beautiful.
You're doing. It's really what you're doing. And I love that. You know, as you said before, your past does not determine your future, and you're not a product of your upbringing and what you were exposed to. In actual fact, you have healed a lot of people using, you know, what hurt you in a sense. You know, your healing journey has been healing for others. And I think that's a beautiful thing to do, Talama. And just to wrap up, you have this wonderful resource that you came up with. Okay. I want you to tell us a little bit about how you envision couples using it and how it could be beneficial to anybody who's on Meet Me in My Corner, who's on their journey to the aisle.
Okay. So when I designed this journal, the purpose of it is to just to simplify marriage. Right? Okay. Right? To simplify marriage. So that, because sometimes we look at marriage as if like, I'm getting into another, like I'm transitioning into another step and it's very difficult, right? And so when I created this, my attitude was, let's simplify, let's like relax, because the world has come up with different perceptions of marriage, and let's just tone it down and relax a little bit and to understand we can make it simple, right? So in the book, we cover so many topics. Okay. Sex. Okay. Intimacy. Finances. Faith. Traumas. Okay. How to parent. Wow. Right. Okay. So it's mainly it's a conversation guide, basically. Oh. So you can write in it. You can do whatever. You only have to buy one book so that you can work together. Yeah. So you don't have to buy like separate books.
And also spend that quality time together. And spend the
quality time, yeah. I love the fact that it encourages like deeper conversations, right? And because sometimes we are not asking the right questions, this book is gonna help you ask those questions. There's nowhere to run.
Okay. And to really get into the heart of where you both are. I love that because I have been feeling like sometimes, you know, we get stuck into the mundanity of life. And I'm somebody that likes like deep conversations all the time. My partner really doesn't, not all the time. And I found myself complaining like, oh, I want like a deep conversation, but I don't really know how to like go into it. And I think it's because I'm yearning just to feel very connected to him. And I have been looking for ways for us to spend quality time in a different way. And so I'm very excited.
And the great thing about the book, at the end of the book, there is a section where it says our commitment or my commitment.
Okay.
Right? So he gets to write his commitment to you. Remember what we said in the beginning? I had only a word. So my commitment is. And then you also write your own commitment to your partner. And then maybe 5-10 years later, you get to revisit it and say, oh, remember.
Where are we now?
Do you understand? So it's such a beautiful... I know, it's romantic.
You're proud of it. You should be proud of it. You really should be proud of it, Talama.
You.
Okay, you definitely need to get yourself this, okay? Talama, I just want to let everybody know, where can they find you? Where can they follow you? You have a beautiful practice called HeartSync, right? So if they are looking for couples therapy, they can come there.
Yeah.
Correct? I actually did refer somebody to you recently.
Yeah.
So yeah, just let us know where people can find you.
Okay, so you can find me at Talama_M. And then, or you can just contact me on 082-420-9418 on WhatsApp. And also you can find me at Langhams. I don't know if you're familiar with such
Langhams.
A famous Langhams. So that's where our offices are.
Okay, cool. Yeah. And do you have anything else that you want to share with our viewers?
Oh, yes. This is something that I've been noticing when I have sessions, right? A lot of people struggle with identity, right? And I just wanted to just remind you today, you're not random. You were created with intent. There was a purpose when God created you. He knew that there was something lacking in the world and you should fill that gap. And there's more to life, guys. God has a plan for you. And as I said in the beginning, that, you know, as much as we can look down on our scars and say, like I've been through hell, right? Yeah. But maybe change the narrative and look at those scars and perhaps think, man, if I could do this, if I could do this, if I could overcome this, then there's nothing impossible.
Yeah, watch the space. A lot of people say that, watch the space.
So yeah, be great, man. Be great. Yeah.
Okay, Chomi, so we've now reached the end of the episode. And I am so excited to start my journey to the aisle. And this is why I wanted to actually start the season with the amazing Talama, just to remind us that we really need to be intentional about creating marriages that will awaken who we are. Remember that you do have an identity, and your identity is worthy of so much love. Give into it and get the tools to assist you if you feel like you're struggling. And make sure you follow Talama on all her social media pages or reach her on WhatsApp. And if you're in and around Johannesburg, check out her practice, HeartSync at Langhams. Okay, bye, Chomi.